Hello, beautiful souls. Before I get started with today's episode, I wanted to give you a quick update. I am now doing one-on-one sessions, which I haven't done for a really long time. I did a few kind of informally over the past few months, and they just have been feeling so great and I'm getting such good feedback that I thought it's time to open up a few slots for anybody that's interested. So you can see below that there are links for both 60-minute and 90-minute sessions. So if you're interested, go ahead and get yourself scheduled. I'd love to meet you. And I love my readings because they are a combination of two things I love and that I integrate in all that I do, in particular, working with my women clients and businesses and just life in general. And that is the alignment of both soul and strategy as we move forward, right? It's integrating the two and using my intuition and my guidance to connect deeply with my client and then being able to take that and weave that through with my 20 years of CEO experience to give you an amazing session or coaching program, whichever way I can serve. Anyway, if you're interested, please click on one of the links below and I would love to meet you. Okay, for today's episode, I have been, channeling and getting a lot of guidance just in general lately, and this is the topic that keeps coming up. I think as a society and just in general as humans, get conditioned that we live in a yes or no world, right? It's yes or no. It's not both and. It is not gray. It is black or white. So I have been doing I've been doing writing. I've been, just all kinds of stuff around this topic because I have been more in the last 6 months to a year than ever before in my life, really embracing the both and mindset. It is much more expansive and much more rich than the yes, no kind of thinking or one or the other, right? You have to choose one or the other. You can't be spiritual and be business oriented. You can't be a mom and run a company. You can't be this or that and that. And I don't believe it. And I don't live my life that way. And I encourage others in all that I do to do the same. So let's double click into that for a minute. I think as, society, especially as women, we have to work harder than our male counterparts in general. And we take that very seriously because we want to be successful in the business world, in the world of community leadership, in the world of being involved in our children's schools. We want to make sure that we are the best and doing the best job at all of the things, right? And we unhelpfully even bring this kind of thinking to each other. And I think it's time for us to take a step back and really explore the possibility that there's so much more to both receive and give if we are in the both and mindset. So let's challenge the thinking, right? Why can't we be both spiritual and business oriented? I am. I have been for decades. I haven't really called it out because I've just been plugging along working. But now that I'm doing this intentionally and out loud as my business, of course I do. When I was running companies, I did. I might not have said it out loud, although sometimes I did. It was just a part of who I am. Like I lead with my heart, which to me is the same thing as soul. So if some of you have a hard time with the concept of soul or the word soul, it's heart. It's centered leadership. It's centered humaning. It is really coming from a deep place, a place of alignment with our values and our beliefs and our way of operating in the world. It is less about trying to fill others' visions of ourselves and society's typical or stereotypical visions of ourselves and about being, competitive, about trying to one up others or better than or whatever. It comes back to another kind of philosophical baseline mindset, in my opinion, and that's abundance thinking versus scarcity thinking, right? The whole competitive landscape, the competitive assumption is that there is only so much to go around, and we have to be aggressively, you know, fighting for our piece of the pie, if you will. And of course, I use those inflammatory words because that's what society teaches us, right? It's not the truth. There's enough for all of us. There's enough to go around. And internalizing that as a foundation really helps us build on to move forward with this both and thinking. Because if there is enough for all of us, then we don't really have to worry about, running short, if you will, or not having enough or not being enough. Because along with the abundance mindset, we are enough. We don't need to act or be any different than we are. Each one of you is enough, exactly as you are. I'm going to say that again because I really know that we don't always think so. And we let others convince us otherwise, or we let, all of the marketing for all of the products and services that are going to make us better, in air quotes, of course, dictate a lot of our thinking. And I really want you to hear me when I tell you, you are enough, exactly as you are. Lean into yourself. Lean into your gifts. Lean into the depths of who you are. Take that soul-led, that soul deep version of yourself and bring her out to play. Bring her out in all of your interactions. Bring her out in your business. Bring her out in your job. Bring her out in your community leadership roles and just your presence. It's palpable when we do that. And it's palpable in a good way. It is an energy of confidence in knowing that we don't have to measure ourselves or let ourselves be measured by others to know that we can do what we're here to do, that we can step into our power and show up as who we truly are and make the difference that we truly are here to make. So I really, really want you to hear that. And that is with the abundance mindset, thinking and stepping into your selfness and your soul level values and beliefs is what allows for the concept of both and as opposed to one or the other, yes or no. And when I talk about that, I challenge you to think about where in your life that you might be limiting yourself. Where are you limiting yourself to that black and white yes or no thinking? It's prevalent. So there's never any judgment coming from me, which and it's a prevalent, model in society, if you will. It's the way that we are taught to be, especially, as businesswomen, especially as leaders, CEOs, C-suite executives, presidents of organizations, vice presidents of organizations, leaders in our community, in your children's schools, wherever you are. It is okay. It is more than okay. It is fabulous for you to embrace the both and. Both sides of the coin are true and good and implementable, if you will. So how does that show up in our lives? You might wonder. I think that oftentimes when we are given a choice or we're working on a project or we're thinking about, launching a new product or changing the way that we offer a current product, we tend to limit ourselves in the scope of what we think, right? So, for example, if we're working on a project and we get this insight, which is typically our intuition, it's our guidance telling us or alerting us that there might be a different way to do it, or there might be something else that we can, weave into the process or project. And oftentimes we bat it away, we smash it down, and we just kind of move on with the original thinking. I'm going to encourage you to think of a time when you did that and think of what the outcome could have been if you had done it differently. If you had taken the moment to inject and include your thoughts, the things that you were, the thing that you were envisioning while you were working on that project. And if you did do that, how did that make you feel when you were done? You took the time to do that. Wasn't that much more fulfilling and impactful than if you had ignored that? So I encourage you to think about that. For us entrepreneurs, the same thing. Like, are we scared to change up how we serve our clients, how we label what we serve our clients, how we serve our clients? It's only a name, right? Like if we're, a certain type of coach or a certain type of consultant, it's only a name. It's truly the energy of who we are that conveys that and that shows up to provide those services, right? So don't be scared to think again, do both and show up as who you are and change your name if you feel like it. Show up as who you are and continue with the same name. The key is always coming from that place of soul alignment, of heart alignment, of values alignment. They're all the same, different words, same energy, same core. And that is the core message. Both and is the basis of how we show up in our most authentic ways. You've heard me talking about authenticity off and on through this entire podcast. This is going to be my 12th episode, and I probably touch on it a little bit on every single episode, I would think, or pretty close to it, because that is the core of why we're here. And, I keep talking about times like now, times like we are in now, like now, we are called. The universe, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, or nothing at all, doesn't matter to me. You know that we're here for a reason. And the reasons vary as uniquely as each one of us are. That's how uniquely the reasons vary and the reasons that we show up vary. And the truth at the core of all of it, unless and until we tap into that authenticity, tap into that soul, values, beliefs, heart-centeredness, we will not be 100% aligned with our authentic selves. Hear me when I say that. If you feel like you are just running through your days at a sprint pace, reacting, checking things off your list, breathing in a shallow way, coming home, doing your routine, falling into bed, waking up with stress dreams, waking up with your brain on nonstop repeat, and then getting up and repeating that, you're not alone. And I lived my life that way for decades. So I know exactly of what I speak. And, it's not that anything is zero stress all of the time, because that's not true. I mean, life, especially with all of the tragedy that surrounds us and every single moment lately, it feels like, and all the chaos and craziness that is going on around us, it is easy sometimes to get caught up in that. And I'm going to remind you to center yourself. However you do that, your morning routine, and if you don't have one, you should. And not because of the typical shoulds. You should because it's good for you and it gives you, even if it's just 5 minutes, a routine helps your brain and body know that you're going to repeat it and be there for yourself. It can be as simple as sitting down and drinking your coffee or tea before you run out the door to work or run out the door to take the kids or whatever you run out the door to do in the morning. And if you work from home, separate yourself from your office or your workspace and do the same thing. You can create all kinds of really meaningful morning routines, as long as short as you want. And that's another podcast episode. But anyway, it's very, very important because that sets your nervous system up for success for the day. And I find with myself and friends and clients that it allows us to come from that more authentic self instead of the reactive self. Or at least less frequently in the beginning. And also, I would challenge you to think about yourself during the day. Am I in reactive mode or am I in response mode? Huge difference. I'm responding to something versus reacting off the top of my head or, just gut reaction that is, crisis mode oriented in some cases. I'm not saying trust your gut because that's not the truth. You need to trust your gut. There's a difference between that like reaction and trusting your gut as a response. Anyway, all of this to say that if you walk away with only one thing after listening to this podcast today, it will be, please, don't limit yourself. There are always more than two choices. Always. And there's always the option to do both. You don't have to do both at 100%, contrary to what we believe, especially as women, or 150% like some of us. You can do less than 100% on more than one thing. And are we worried that it's not going to be perfect? Well, sometimes life is not perfect and we are not going to be perfect all the time. And if we can align our soul with our strategy in whatever we do, however we do it, however we show up in the world, we are making strides towards being our most authentic selves and showing up in that way to do the best work possible that we are here to do on this planet right now. And work doesn't necessarily mean traditional work. It means our work, our job as humans, as women humans in this era on the planet. So I encourage you, loves, take a look in the mirror, look at yourself and just appreciate yourself. Be grateful. Yep. Are we going to see imperfections or what we believe to be imperfections? Yes, all of us do. And you are perfect exactly the way you are. Until our next episode, have an amazing week. Big love.